We're going to go to high expectations next. High expectations is actually something that we have been talking about in our district, right? One of the ones that we actually remembered and put up there. High expectations is actually within Danielson's framework. It's a cross-cutting theme that we have focused in the district. And the way that we define it in Destination 2015 is this. We believe that all adults accept all children as their top priority. All children as the top priority. And recognize that students will rise to meet the level of our expectations. So we see cross-cutting theme, high expectations in dimensions 2 and 3. And it's really about hard work. And I talk about that in my video as well. If we have high expectations, we'll expect Hilda to really, it may not come easy for you, but you're going to work hard to get to where you need to go. They're demonstrated in the questions we ask, who we ask which questions of. I mean, go into your classrooms and notice who gets the question of, what do you think about this? And who gets the question of, who was the main character and what was she wearing? You see how the expectation is seen in that question, in those questions? In visible learning, which is one of the documents that we will be referring to, look at the effect size. Those of you who may not be familiar with this, the effect size of 0.4 is an effect size that actually matters. Anything below a 0.4 is kids came to school, they had, they learned just by coming to school. So a 0.4 is a difference that makes a difference. So you see, high expectations has a difference of 0.43 effect size. How many of you are familiar with Pygmalion in the classroom? So it's some literature. It was by Rosenthal and Jacobson, and he talks about what they call bloomers. In some of these studies of expectations, the effect size is 0.7. Would that be interesting to you? I mean, 0.7 is huge, right? And you've probably heard the stories of a teacher being given a list of students for her classroom and told, you know what, these are the brightest kids in this school. You've heard that story, right? Yeah. And so these are some of the studies. They have actually done studies where they say, you're going to get a bunch of kids who, they haven't performed over the last year, but this is their year. They're going to bloom this year. And you're going to get kids that, we've tried everything and nothing has worked for them. So these are two teachers, and these are randomly assigned students, and they get that set. And guess what happens at the end of the year? The kids that were bloomers bloom, because the teacher never expects anything less. And she treats the kids as though they are really, this is their year. The teacher who gets the kids who were supposed to be, oh, we've tried everything, guess what? Those kids don't achieve. One study actually, there's this, I don't know if this is a myth or not, but a teacher doesn't get anything about these kids. So just, school districts are like that sometimes. They just give you a class list and you don't even get a roster. So she gets the roster. And the roster is, so-and-so 125, so-and-so 148, so-and-so 151, so-and-so 130. And she looks at this and she says, these kids are really bright. Look at this IQ. These IQs are really high. I'm going to have to work hard to keep these kids engaged. And I've got to really challenge them. And she did. But those were not their IQ numbers. They were their locker numbers. And through the locker numbers, she just created this expectation, and the kids really achieved. Pygmalion, that's why this 0.7 is so huge. So the question is, how do we help teachers really raise their level of expectations? What's our role as principals, as coordinators, as central office people to really help people achieve at that level? Another study that I've mentioned to you is Carol Dweck, her work on mindset. This is especially important for the kids who are, quote, the gifted and SWAS kids. These kids sometimes will not try things because they don't want to fail. And that's because they believe that intelligence is set. They're as intelligent as they are going to get. This also happens with us as parents when we tell, oh, you're so smart, right? Or you're so fast, because we equate quickness with intelligence too. Rather than a growth mentality, where progress is what we're after. And so teachers, Dweck study says you've got to create a growth mentality. When teachers hold low expectations, they actually hold them for everyone. So this is not just about some kids. They hold them for all kids. And so teachers must stop overemphasizing ability and start emphasizing progress, and then be prepared to be surprised. Be prepared to be surprised. This value, where it says students will rise to the level of expectations, I wanted to include, or will sink to our expectations. That's what I wanted to put there. But Tony Sanders pulls me off the ledge often. He says, that's too negative. We don't really want to say that. You like my weekly messages? They're really soft, because the first time I write them, they're much more edgier, a little bit more in your face. Some of them go out that way because I tell Tony, I'm sorry, you got to send it this way. But kids will rise to our level of expectations or sink to the level of expectations that we might have for them. So the question for you, reflect, is this. The question is not, do teachers have expectations, but do they have false and misleading expectations for some kids in our school? So that's the question. But the real question that I want you to focus on is, what behaviors are telltale signs of the expectations? Both that teachers have, what behaviors do you see in the classroom? We mentioned one already, questions. But what are the telltale signs of principals, of central office people? What are telltale signs from us? So have that reflection conversation.